My channel. So today I'll be showing you guys how to make this blazer jacket. So guys, I'm going to be using the easiest method I know, right? And later I'm going to show you guys a different method. There's different ways to make this, and I'm just going to be using the easiest one I know for you guys. I have one pattern here, which is the width I'm using here is just your hip divided by 4 plus 1. So that's the front pattern here. There's this one here is the back pattern, your hip divided by 4 plus 1. That's how I got the width. So my hip divided by 4, that's 12. So because my hip is 48 divided by 4, that's 12 plus 1, that's 13. So why I'm using my hip is because this blazer is going to come down to my hip. It's like a long blazer, so I'm using the widest part of my body, which is my hip, to determine the width of the fabric. So after that, so guys, so the same thing is what I did for the front pattern, and then I added extra 4 inches to this one here. So the two of them, this smaller one is my back, and then this bigger one is the front pattern, which has the 4 inches. So that's how I got the width. So for the length, what I'm using here is about 31.5 inches, right? Because my blazer is going to be 30 inches, and I'm going to make, I need about 1.5 to use as my seam allowance. So half an inch for joining the shoulder and 1 inch for folding. If you want, you can add lining to your own, like I said before. So the next thing you're going to do, so we are going to start putting in our measurement now. So the first thing I'm going to do is to go up to the shoulder and then put my shoulder measurement divided by 2. That's going to be 8, because my shoulder is 16. That's from one end of your shoulder to the other end, right? For me, that's 16 divided by 2, that's 8. So from my shoulder to my waist is 17. I'm going to mark that here. And then from my shoulder to my hip is 24. I'm going to mark that here. And then from my shoulder to bust is about 10.5, somewhere here, right? Sorry for this line I'm making. Guys, just pay attention. You understand this thing is not that hard. So the next thing, after drawing this line, shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, shoulder to hip, right? And then the end of your cloth, what you will do now is to go up here and put in your armhole. So my armhole is 20 divided by 2, that's going to be 10. I'm going to just mark this down here, connect it this way, right? And then I'm going to just draw in my armhole here, right? And then the next thing I'm going to do is to come down here by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, right? And then go up here and mark 3 inches. 3 inches here, and then connect your shoulder slope. So now you're going to start putting in your measurements. So come down to your shoulder to the bust. You're going to put in your bust measurements. For me, that's 42 divided by 4, that's 10.5 plus extra 1 inch, that's going to be 11.5. See, if you want to have ease in your blazer, you can always add half an inch. So when you're going to determine the width of your fabric, you might want to add maybe instead of using 1 inch extra, you can use 2 inches extra, so that you can add maybe 0.5. So let's say I divide my bust measurement by 4 and I got 10.5. I can add extra 0.5 as ease, and then I add my 1 inch normal for my seam allowance. So if you want some room in your cloth, you can always go ahead and add. You don't want it like too tight, just add half an inch or 0.25, whatever you want to add. So coming down to your waist, so this is our line for shoulder to waist, right? I'm just going to use the normal dress darts for this, but I'm still going to make another video. I'll show you guys how to use like a shoulder dart or like a princess dart for this, and then also the one that has waistline, and then you're going to divide your waist by 4. So for me, that's 36 divided by 4, that's 9. I'm going to add extra 2 inches, so that's 11. So you come down to your hip. So for the hip, we're using exact measurement, right? So the fabric was already folded with the hip measurement, so there's no need of adding anything, which is 48 my hip is 48 divided by 4 is 12 plus extra 1 is 13. So what I'm going to do is just to connect this line to my hip, connect my waist to my bust to my waist, connect my waist to my hip, and then mark it just straight down this way. You see, it's straight down like this. And then this method can also work if you're trying to make a blazer dress. You just have to add in your dress length at the end, like maybe just right above your knee, just make it a little longer. So the next thing you're going to do, so we'll finish for our back pattern. Okay, I'm just going to go up here and mark 1 inch for the neck depth at the back, right? And then I'm going to just connect it this way and mark it out, right? This is the back. So now I'm going to transfer this line to the front, right? My waistline, my bust line, and then my hip line. So now what you're going to do is to add about 1 inch here for your button flap, right? So you add 1 inch here. I'm going to add 1 inch here, or you can use 1.5. So I'm going to use 1.5 for mine, because remember I'm still going to be adding another fabric on top, so I'm just going to make it 1.5. So the distance of this center back to this point, mark 1.5 all the way down. And then it's left for you to determine where you want your neck, the neck of your blazer to start. Not like start, like where you want the button. You know how it curves and comes down this way. So it depends on you where you want. Maybe you can use right on your waist. You can use maybe 1 inch above your waist. Like you want the V at the bottom. You know how blazer neckline comes down. So wherever you want, 2 inches above your neck, above the waist. But for me, I'm going to be using the waist and the dot. So I'm going to extend this line up to the waist, right? So this is going to be my button. And then this line that I have here, I'm just going to mark it to go up. So before that, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out my front, my back, because the smaller one is your back panel. This front one, we're almost done now. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out my back panel, separate it from the front. But before that, I'm going to also go ahead and mark my dart. Guys, I'm marking this thing on the front of this fabric just so that it can be visible. But normally you're supposed to mark on the wrong side of your fabric. So it's just for the purpose of the video that I'm marking it on this right side. So the next thing you're going to do before cutting it out, I'm just going to show you guys, you're going to put in your dart. So 4 inches from here is where I'm going to put in my dart. So somewhere here, right? And then mark that same 4 inches from this distance here. I'm going to mark it here, and then also mark it on my hip line too. So the next thing you're going to do is to mark on the center one, which is your waist. You're going to remember you divided your waist by 4 and added extra 2 inches, but the rest you just divided by 4 and added 1 inch on the bust and 1 inch here. That's because the main point of the dart is at this waist. So you're going to mark ½ an inch on each side, and then you're going to come, this one is your back panel, right? So your dart is going to go all the way up, right? All the way up from your shoulder to your chest line. So mine is going to be somewhere around here. So your dart is going to go up somewhere here and come down. So this is my dart, and then it's going to stop 2 inches before your hip. So my hip is on this line, so 2 inches above that is going to be here. So my back dart is going to stop here on this same 4 inches, right? So this is my back dart here. So I've marked my dart at the back. I'm going to just go ahead and cut this out. So that's how you're going to dart the back. So now we just have to cut this out and then move to the front. So guys, this is it here. I've cut it out. I've cut out my back neckline. So I'm going to separate the back and the front now. So guys, I'm going to just transfer back those measurements from the back one to this one. So my shoulder to bust 10.5 is what it was, right? I'm going to put it down. Then shoulder to waistline, I'm going to put that down at 17. Mark it down here. Shoulder to hip, which was 24, I'm going to just put that down. Just use your ruler. Don't be like me. So the next thing you're going to do now is to go ahead and mark 3 inches of neckline. So you're going to come down here 3 inches. This is the front, remember. So you're going to just come down 3 inches, and then you're going to extend this line of 3 inches of the neckline and move this way. So this is the neckline here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you guys. So remember what we were doing here before. So at this point, this was the This was the line that was demarcating that 1.5 that we marked before, right? So this was where we stopped for the waist, right? This is, like I said, I wanted mine to be right on the waist. That's where my button is going to come in. So what I'm going to do is just to extend this line to this part here. So I'm just going to extend this part. You see, I came down 3 inches, marked my neckline straight this way to the end. I'm going to just extend this part here. So from this end, I'm going to just extend it in a straight line, curve it all the way up here, right? So that's, you see, my neckline is coming in now. See, this part of my blazer is coming in now. If you want, there's this type of blazer, I know I'm going to insert the picture here, that comes with this pointed part here. It looks like one end of it is pointed and then it curves in. I'm still going to make a different video and show you guys. If that's the neckline you're making, you're going to just have to cut, just extend this your line and then cut it out. But that's not what I'm making. I'm just making the normal one. So I'm just going to extend my line up to my 3 inches, right? And then at this point here, I'm going to curve it this way, just like your normal neckline. The only difference here is that you extended this line like this here, right? So now I'm going to just cut this whole thing out all the way up. So guys, as you can see, I've cut mine out, you see. So what I'm going to do, you see, it's going to now look something like this. You see, it's coming together now, you see. So this point here, this is the part that is going to flap over for your neckline. So I'm still going to cut my collar, don't worry about that. So we'll just go back to the sleeve, because this is the front. So guys, what you're going to do is to come down here halfway through. So for me, that's 5. I came in by half an inch in and then connected it this way. So I'm going to just cut this out. Guys, now we are going to put in the darts for the front. So I'm just going to fold this way to fold out that extra 4 inches. So now I have it the same way I had the back pattern, right? So it depends on you. Just check your breast point, divide it by 2. So for me, that's 8 divided by 2 is 4. So that's why I keep using 4. Then mark it this way. So you're going to come up 2 inches before your hip line and 1 inch under your bust line. So this is where your dart is going to come in. So you're going to mark half an inch here, half an inch here, and then you're going to connect it to this point this way. Sorry, oh god, this is not supposed to get here. So remember, 2 inches before this line, so which is somewhere here before your hip. So that's basically how you do the darts for the front. So all you have to do is trace it on the back of this, pinch it, and then sew it. So you're going to pinch it, sew half an inch this way, half an inch this way. So that's how you're going to do it. So that's basically it. Now what we are going to do is, if you want to use the same fabric for your for this, because remember, if you open this up now, one is on this side. Sorry, let me cut this open. So guys, remember, if you open it up now, one neckline will be this way, one neckline will be this way, right? So what we are going to do now is, if you want, you can use the same fabric. If you want, when you open your lapels, it will still be the same color of this fabric. But since I don't want that, I'm going to be using a blue pattern to trace it out. So guys, this is what I'm using here. I'm using this blue. So you have to trace out like halfway. The pattern you're going to put in, you're going to trace at least halfway through this, from the shoulder. That's whatever you're using is supposed to extend into your cloth, like at least from halfway of the shoulder, like halfway through your shoulder down to the end, right? So it's supposed to extend that way. Like whatever fabric you decide to use, if it's the same color, just fold it into 2, like how I folded this here, and then just make sure it goes in. So now I've pinned it down. You see my pin on this side and then one here. So I'm just going to trace out this same pattern over again. So guys, I've traced it out. So this is what it looks like now. And remember, I folded it into 2. So I have 2 of that and 2 of this here. So you see, so when I fold it now, I'm going to have this blue on this part here. So what I'm going to do now is just go to my sewing machine, put in my darts for my front and the back panel, join the shoulder, and then I'm going to put this in. See, I've gone ahead and joined this here. You see what I did? This is it here. So I just went ahead and joined the 2 of them on this end here. So I took one, joined it. You see how I just put it, but I didn't close up the top part. I just closed up this end here. So after that, I flipped it close this way, ironed it in. So now if I put it back inside of the cloth and pull it this way, you see my collar is back out again. So I did it on the two sides. Armhole, that is about 11 inches. So just place my tape. I've done video on how to cut your sleeve several times, so I'm just going to place this here, mark a straight line from this end to this end, and then halfway through, so it is about 11.5. so halfway I'm going to mark down here and then give it a curve up here. So that's basically how you get your sleeve. I'm then going to mark at the end here my sleeve width. So if you're using long sleeve, you can also mark yours, but this is how I'm going to mark mine here. I'm making it a 3/4 sleeve, so the end I'm using is about 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. So extra 1 is added, that's going to be about 7.5. So I'm just going to mark it here and then tear my sleeve. So I already have a video on how to make this turn up sleeve. So basically what you're going to do is whatever, if you're trying to use the turn up one, so what you're going to do is take one of your sleeve, right, and then this is, let's say this is what you're going to attach. It is now what you're using. On the wrong side is where you're going to place it. Sew it this way, right? Sew it this way, facing this way, and then you're going to, after sewing it, now it's joined to it, and then you flip it up this way. So now this is a turn up sleeve, and you iron it down, and then when you iron it down, you fold it this way, and then that's your turn up sleeve. You have this at the end, you attach it to your top. So that's how you're going to do it. So, and then this is the interface I'm going to use for the back, because remember, like I said before, I'm not using lining for this here. I'm just going to use interface. So what I'm going to do is, how I cut this interface is just like when you were cutting the neck of your shirt, right? Remember when you were cutting the neck of the back collar, you're just going to take the fabric for the facing, fold it into two this way, because see, this is just like how you normally cut your normal, let's say this is your normal bodice, this is the sleeve, this is the shoulder, this is the neckline. This is how we folded the back pattern, right, when we were cutting the back pattern. So after cutting your back neckline, you're going to go ahead and cut out a second part again that looks like that back, just that it has that same neckline, but instead this time around you make it like 4 inches of length and curve it. So that's how you cut your facing. So with this facing now, what I have to do is, see how this is here, right? When we were cutting it, we cut it this way up to the shoulder. This is what it looked like then. You see this one, the same thing. So you see the two of them go up to the shoulder. So now the one at the back is just like the same neckline. You see, if I slide it in now, is also the back neckline. So all I have to do now is to join this shoulder to this shoulder. You see, I'm going to join this shoulder to this shoulder, join this shoulder to this shoulder. So now we have a facing. You see, this is going to be the facing for the neckline. You see how it's going to look at the back here, you see, but you remember we are going to still flip it inside out when we are done. So I'm going to just go to the sewing machine and join these two shoulders together. So guys, as you can see, I've sewn and ironed my facing. So you see the side here, you see how it looks, it goes in all the way after joining the facing. So now is this way. What we are going to do now is to cut the collar. So the collar, how you're going to cut it is, you're going to measure the neckline. So what I'm going to do, you see how this is, I'm going to take it, pull it together this way, right? Just fold it this way, pinch the two ends of my collar together. Remember, this is a notch collar. So what I'm going to do is so it's left for you how many inches you want to leave at the end. So for me, I'm going to leave about 1.5 inch here before my collar would start. So 1.5 inch, which is at this point here. So that means my collar is going to start here. So I'm going to just measure whatever I have remaining. So I'm going to measure the rest of the neckline now. So I'm going to just place my tape and measure what I have here and measure it all the way to the end. So I have 10 inches here. So that 10 inches times 2, that's going to be like times 2 because it's folded. That's going to be 20. You're going to add half an inch to it, and then you're going to cut it out. So that times 2, what I have is 20, right? Plus extra 1 inch, that's like 1 inch, half an inch for folding each side. So that will be 21 inches. So the next thing you're going to do is to take that collar. So what I did here is just fabric that I folded into 2. You see the width I'm using here, you can use 8 inches if you want your collar to be 4 inches. When you fold it, it will not be 4 inches, it will be like 7, because remember half an inch will be tucked in. So but for me, I'm using 8 inches here. You can use 3.5, it depends on you. If you use 3.5, that means when you fold and tuck in half an inch, you'll be left with 3 inches of collar. So it depends on you, whichever one you want to use. So I'm using 4 here. I'm going to fold this into 2, and then at this end here, let me level it up here because it's not equal. At this end here, I'm going to go ahead and mark 2 inches up here, and then down here I'll have about 2 inches. So just basically mark 2 inches up here and then blend it in, right? So you're going to blend that in. Just give it like a curve, not like a straight line, like a curve all the way to the back here, you see. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So guys, the way it is now, I'm going to flip it this way, close up the 2 ends and flip it back. So guys, as you can see, I've closed the end and ironed it back again. So you see what I did here is just to use half an inch to close up this end, and then you make sure you pull it back out and iron it. Make sure this pointed end is out. So you see, this is what it looks like. This part is curved all the way to the back. So you're going to fold it into 2 again. Make sure the ends are equal. Notch it here so you know the center. Take your the jacket again, do the same thing. Put the 2 ends together, find this middle part here and notch it again. Notch the center back. So now what you're going to do is to take this collar here, and then you're going to put it inside of this. So guys, you see the way it is now. See the way our neckline is. So this is the neck of this here. You see how it goes round. This is the time you want to go and bring your pin. This is our center back where I just notched. This is the 2 ends of the blazer. So you're going to go ahead and open up this flap here, and then so the way it is now, you're going to take this here and then you're going to pin it down. So you see, take the part of the blazer here that you already notched, put the notch part of your collar. See, my collar is in between, and then so now you bring the facing, the same part that is notched, you're going to put it in here. So now is when your pin is your best friend. You start pinning. You're going to pin this all the way around, right? So you put it in here. So you see, you just have to flip it out this way and then flip out the other edge, and then just spread it out and just keep on putting in your collar. You see, just pass it through inside here and just pin it down all the way through. So I'm going to pin another one now. Pin again. So you're going to keep pinning it till you get to the 1.5 before the end. So you see, pull it straight and pin. So guys, as you can see, mine stopped before the end. So you see, this is where my collar is all the way through. So all you have to do is go to the sewing machine, place it this way, and just start from there. It's better to start at the center if you're just doing this for the first time, just so that you can be able to spread it out in case if you get to the end and you still have room. So you just spread it out, because if you start at the end and you come to the center and it bulks up, then you have to go back again. So start from the center and just straighten it all the way to the end, and then when you're done, you pull it out this way. So you see, when you're done, your collar will be out this way. So now you see, it's in between, the collar is in between this facing and the main cloth. So I'm going to go and sew mine now. So guys, this is the neck here. So what I'm going to do is just to cut, just to release the tension. So I'm just going to notch it all the way to the end, and then when I'm done, I'm going to flip it. So guys, now that it's this way, you're going to go ahead and flip it out. So you see, especially the 2 ends here, you're going to flip it to come out this way, point until it comes out. So you see, make sure that you have that pointed part out. You see the notch collar is here. You go to the other end, you point it out. So So guys, you see now it's out to the end. This one is out to the end. So what you have to do is just go ahead, flip it the other side. So now our blazer is done. So it's just for you to iron it and then fold the end. So you see, this is what it looks like. This is the neckline here. So guys, this is done now. So this is what it looks like at the moment. So this is it here. So but basically at this bottom part, I still have to iron it a lot. So this part, this end here, I just have to put in my button, just one button. Remember I said at the waist, so I'm going to put it here and then fold my ends here. So that's basically, see my 1 inch of zip, my 1 inch of button. So 1 inch will flap on top of it here, and then coming up here, you see, that's why I said you can also use this pattern for like a dress with this kind of collar. And then this is the top part here. So this is the neckline, this is the sleeve. And this is the short that I made for it before. So this is the short, it has pockets. So you can also find the video of this one too. So that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Bye.